Hi, this is Itzel, and I want to welcome you to Rock Solid Talks, a podcast where I will be sitting down with the main players in the mining industry to discuss all that surrounds mining. Brought to you by Digital Prospector, a mining-focused media company. Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of Rock Solid Talks, brought to you by Digital Prospector, a mining-focused media company. Today, I want to welcome Paul Sorbara. He is the CEO, founder, and director of Golden Goliath Resources. Golden Goliath has recently signed an option agreement to earn 100% interest in the Ernest Rare Earth Element project in Quebec. Paul, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Itzel. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I want to start by asking you, what are rare earth elements and why are they crucial to our economy and the green energy development?
Well, there's like 103 elements, and there are 17 rare earth elements. Atomic numbers 57 to 71. They have a lot of their cerium, dysprosium, iridium, europium, gadolinium. They're very difficult to pronounce, and you can see them on the periodic table. We'll point out that this row here is the lanthanide series, and that's the lanthanide series is down here, and there's two more rare earths over here. This series, the lanthanides, they're used in electronics and everything. We'll talk about that. These are used in making atomic weapons. We don't want those. And these elements occur naturally, in different types of minerals around the world. And they're very important for modern electronics. No flat screens, no cell phones, no solar panels, no nothing that we are depending on these days without rare earth elements. But also in magnets, and you need magnets for everything that we're doing now, superconducting magnets. And although they're called rare earth elements, they're not really that rare. They're fairly common around the world, but what is rare is to find them in a concentration that is sufficient that you can mine them in a large volume. So they're sort of a little bit scattered all over, and sometimes geological processes concentrate them in certain areas where we can mine. And there is one rare earth mine operating in the United States right now called Mountain Pass, but they do not process the material. They only mine it.
So, Paul, what does it mean in terms of national security interests that China controls 90% of the production of the rare earth minerals?
Well, for our national security, what is important is that we need these elements, refined elements, in order to build the electronics and everything that we're basing our new civilization on. And if there's only one supplier, like in China, then China can dictate terms, and you're controlling the flow of a vital commodity. And that's the, you don't want to be held hostage through the supply chain. And that's the security issue for North America and for all the other countries. If you can't depend on only one supplier, or that supplier is going to control you.
Why is this? Why is not 90% of the production controlled by China?
Because the world wanted it. Because there's two things involved. There's the mining of rare earth elements, and there's the production, like the mill, to turn them from ore into the finished product. That processing produces a lot of toxic waste. And decades ago, when we started to recognize the importance of rare earth elements, nobody wanted to have all that toxic waste in their backyard. So they let China produce it. So now China's got an area where they produce rare earth elements, and it's an environmental catastrophe, basically. It's very toxic, but the world was happy to let China have the toxic problem. And so now China holds the reins. So if we want to change the digital or the global paradigm, we have to accept the fact that it's no good just for us to mine the rare earth elements in Canada, the United States, or wherever, but you have to be prepared to produce them. Because if we just mine them here or there and then ship them to China for production, well, they're still in control of the final product, and that's what we need. So we need to come to grips with that. And I don't know the solution. They are looking for ways to produce rare earth metals that are not so environmental damaging. But at the moment, the processes to produce it make a big mess.
And what kind of investment opportunity does this shift in paradigm represents to North America, Australia, these regions where production could shift from China?
Well, it's a great opportunity for people like me, junior miners, but also big mining companies, because we can go out now and there's going to be a greater demand for generating rare earth elements. We can go out and prospect and acquire properties like the one we just acquired in Quebec to explore for and hopefully find a mineable deposit. And then that's step one. And that's a big opportunity for the mining companies. And then the next step after that is the country of origin needs to be able to produce their own milling techniques.
And you mentioned that a big issue with mining, but producing rare earth minerals is that the waste, right? How the kind of waste.
Mining itself is fairly clean. You know, we're digging up rock, we're used to that. We're putting it in trucks and we're taking it to a mill. That part is not so bad. But then what happens in the mill is the question.
Okay. And
but we still need to find the minerals first.
Perfect. And do you see any legislation or any initiatives being directed at a more efficient treatment of the waste produced by the production of these elements?
I know they're doing research to find cleaner ways of producing it. The governments, including the Canadian government, are giving incentives to people and to companies to look for and to find mineable rare earth deposits. Here in Canada, the Canadian government is giving the purchasers of flow-through shares in companies like Golden Goliath Resources an extra 15% tax break on their investment. So they're trying to stimulate the search, and that's step one.
Perfect. And well, what do you see the short and medium term looking like for rare earth metals? Let's say 2023 and the next 5 years. I
think it's a great opportunity for the next 5 years because all kinds of people are going to be going out and looking for rare earth elements. They're going to be getting support from governments and investors to do so. So there'll be a big push in the rare earth elements over the next 4 to 5 years. But then eventually we'll start to find all these deposits. And then from there on, it will be the processing. Once you find a bunch of it, the demand isn't going to be as great as long as you find enough, and then you have to be able to produce it. Perfect.
And this deposits, so where, besides Canada and the United States, what countries are they? Have significant deposits?
Rare earth element, they're found in almost every country that they're found all around the world, and they're found there's different types of deposits, and there's sort of sedimentary deposits or clay deposits where it's leached. There are igneous deposits, intrusions called carbonatites. So that, in a way, rare earth elements are a little bit like gold. Gold doesn't fit in the atomic structure of a lot of minerals. So you don't find a lot of, gold sulfides or stuff like that because they don't form. It's left over in the residual liquids and concentrated that way. That's why you find some gold in pegmatite dikes sometimes, and you also find rare earth elements because like a pegmatite dike is like a sweat off of an igneous intrusion, and the stuff that doesn't get incorporated into different elements or different minerals in the intrusion itself gets squirted up in the residual liquid. Some of that is gold, some of that is rare earth, some of it is lithium. And that's how we find it. It's related to not every intrusion. It depends on the geochemistry of the igneous intrusion that you're dealing with.
Okay.
And in Quebec, we're looking at the right type of chemistry and the right type of environment. The Ernst property is just south of and within the rim zone of a 250-year-old meteor impact site, or an astrobleed now. So it's really a crater that an asteroid hit, and it did a lot of stuff. They drilled inside the middle of this astrobleed years and years ago, looking for sulfides like Sudbury, but they didn't find any. But now the mapping has shown that the rim zone from this impact feature extends out 60 kilometers from the edge of the astrobleed itself, which is Lake Manicouagan. And it's in that rim zone that things could have happened. And it's what intrigues me about the setting. You know, can this astrobleed be related to the generation of rare earth element deposits? We'll find out.
We'll find out. And I wanted to ask you, so what do you see as the best performing metal for this year?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's going to be rare earth. You know, at the PDAC show, Robert Friedland and the chairman of Barrick, they're both bullish on copper. I don't think copper myself is going to go skyrocket this year. What could skyrocket this year is actually gold, because the BRICS countries, you know, Brazil, China, they're coming up with an alternative reserve currency to the US dollar, and that's going to be backed by gold. And if you've seen lately, the gold price has been very strong. And if the BRICS companies make their move, then I think the gold price will probably be the best producer this year, or best improvement this year. But there's so many global events, you know, who knows what's going to happen. That I believe that the BRICS countries taking over the reserve currency, I'm sure that will happen. Whether it happens this year or next year, I don't know.
Perfect. Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining us today and for talking to us about rare earth elements. What are they? What are the uses and the opportunities that this represents in North America, Quebec, and some of the challenges that we're going to be facing when production of these metals. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's all my pleasure.